Welcome to the 1998 British Enduro Championship. This year we have 6 rounds, 5 familiar rounds and a new event at Dartmoor. We start the season at the end of February in the Thetford Forest for the Breckland Enduro. But before this event gets underway, let's take a look back at some of those championship riders who went well last year. Juan Knight from the Isle of Man hasn't been riding Enduros for very long, but he finished 3rd overall in the series. Last year he was riding a Yamaha 250 and he stayed with Yamaha again this year. Last season, Ady Smith had changed from 125s and rode a Yamaha 250 to finish runner-up in the series. Ady staying with Yamaha in 1998. Could he go one better?
My first year on a new bike, new size, so hopefully things will go a little bit better next year after a winter of practicing on the 250.
The reigning champion, Rob Sartin, he had made a change this year. He'd left Yamaha and was now riding for TM. It was a great achievement for Rob because back in '96 he had that horrendous crash and a lot of people didn't think he'd be on a bike again. But to come back and win the series, and in fact he won 8 out of the 11 days, could he do it again this year? This year the Breckland had gone back to its old format, 2 days. As usual, they go in tough, but nothing really impossible, no wet areas and no hill climbs. Clerk of the course, Andy Waters, had got the time checks fairly tight and the first day was going to be a long one. Rob Sartin, number 18. The reigning 125cc champion, Mark Vaughan, and he's riding Honda this year. The TM rider, number 5, that was Rob Rayford. Ady Smith, number 21. Wyn Hughes riding for the Suzuki team this year. And Carl Tiley has changed from TM to ride for Honda Britain. The special test here in the Thetford Forest, as good as ever, very entertaining for riders and spectators. The bomb holes on the test made very good viewing. Tim Lewis was having a good first day in the 125s, riding for Husky Sport. On the test, though, he couldn't stay with the TM rider, Roman Mikulek. Roman was riding the latest TM model. Number 11, Wayne Braybrook, riding in the championship class for the first time. Chris Paget had been here before, but didn't make a good landing. On test times, Tim Lewis was going to finish runner-up in the 125s, but there was still a tight check to come. In the 250s, Jonty Edmonds was going well. He was riding a Husky. Suzuki rider Richard Hay had a couple of good tests and then a bit slower on the last one. Ady Smith did some cracking times, but got held up on his last test. The rider in front of him, Keith Isaac. On the test, though, there was no one who could stay with Rob Sartin. He won all 3 laps. Still the tight check to come at the end of the day. Tim Lewis was the first rider to come in. It was very close for him, but he just made it. Jonty Edmonds also clean on this last check. A good ride for Huskies today. Ady Smith always well up on the go-in. He was in clean, but not for Rob Sartin, who was behind Ady here. At the check, Ady looks over his shoulder and Rob shakes his head. Rob was a minute down. In fact, only 4 championship riders went clean on this first day. Richard Hay was the 4th one. At the start of a new season, there are changes to the different classes. John Shirt and Rowan Jones were the top experts, and they've gone up into the championship class. So this year, the experts to look out for are Ian Mundell, Cy Higgins, Neil Williams, Wyn Hope, Gary Flowers, Simon Evans, and, of course, several others. This first day of the Breckland was very tough for the experts. Only 4 championship riders had gone clean, and only 4 experts made it as well. No one went clean in the 125cc class. 8 riders lost a minute, but it was Andrew Williams who came out on top. He'd done the best test times, although number 56, Simon Evans, perhaps should have won the class if he hadn't bounced off a couple of trees. That looked a very nasty fall, but Simon got back on the bike and finished the test. Number 57, Wayne Mundell, finished 3rd in the class. In the 250s, Steve Saunders finished runner-up, and Cy Higgins took the Premier Award, beating Steve by just 8 seconds. In the 4-stroke class, number 124, Mark Buckley, dropped a minute on the go-in and finished runner-up. But the winner in that class was number 119, Dave Hammond. He'd also dropped a minute on the go-in. The times were slacker on day 2, and a lot more in the clubman class went clean, but there were still problems. This was a bad hole for Suzuki's. And Huskies. I think this next rider was feeling rather tired. 2 days in the Thetford Forest is a long time. Alan Robinson had bike problems yesterday, and he wasn't balancing too well today. The main sponsor of the Breckland, Paul Ranson from Edmondson Ford, was enjoying the 2 days, but I don't think we could say the same about the rider who was hiding behind the trees.
Oh, fuck it up!
Perhaps he goes to church on Sundays. In the over 40s class, Dave Roper won this second day. Terry Thomas was runner-up yet again, but he'd been the most consistent man in the class, so he was to take the Premier Award in the over 40s. Dave May Miller won the 350 4-stroke class. He scored maximum points on both days. Chris Boyce won the other 4-stroke class, and Jared Wilcox was the best open clubman rider. In the 125s, Jonathan Evans from Raider finished 5th on day 2, a good result for him because this was his first championship ride. Neil Boyd, 4th on day 1 and also 4th on day 2. And number 136, Dylan Jones, 3rd on this second day. He would score 35 points this weekend. Dylan rides very much like his father, Geraint Jones. The results in the 125cc class were the same for both days, so Stevie Roper was runner-up yet again. Stevie riding a KTM. And the top clubman 125cc rider this weekend, number 137, Edward Jones. He wins both days and scores maximum points in the class. Edward also has a well-known father, Gareth, that's Geraint's brother. In the 250s on this second day, John Palfrey from Bury St Edmunds finishes 3rd. And James Newstead, who was 4th on day 1, takes the runner-up slot on day 2. Chris Hockey was the quickest man on the test and should have taken the Premier Award overall, but he clocked in early on this second day, so that dropped him down into 4th place. I don't suppose he'll make that mistake again. And the top clubman rider this weekend on a KTM 250, James Johnson from Braintree. He wins both days and scores maximum points. In the expert class, it was an easier second day. In the open 4-stroke class, Peter Stab took the Premier Award. He won both days. Number 119, Dave Hammond, had been the winner on day 1 in the 400cc 4-stroke class, but on Sunday he was down in 3rd place. He was slowly getting used to that Honda. Stephen Grimshaw, riding in the Genus Honda team, did the fastest test on day 2 to take the top award. On day 1, he had dropped 2 minutes on the go-in. Chris Tett from Dudley had also lost 2 minutes on Saturday, but on day 2 his test times were very quick, and although he finished runner-up on this second day, he was to take the Premier Award in the 4-stroke class. Chris riding one of the new Yamaha 400s. In the 125s, number 41, Andrew Williams, had won the first day. He also won the first test on day 2, but that was as far as he went. Ewan McConnell, number 44, finished 4th on day 2. That was 3 places better than yesterday. Yamaha rider Mark Gammons had beaten McConnell on day 1 by just a fraction of a second. On day 2, Mark finished in 3rd place. And today, Mark was nearly 17 seconds up on Ewan. This year, Glenn Foxwell from Cairn was riding a 125 instead of a 250. On day 1, he finished 4th in the 125s and went better on this second day to take the runner-up position. On day 1, we saw Simon Evans crashing into the trees on one of his special tests and still finishing runner-up. He went 1 better today and won the expert 125cc class. Simon won 2 out of the 3 special tests. In the 250s, Gary Flowers from the Isle of Man had lost a minute on day 1, but still finished in 5th place. On day 2, he had rather a slow first test, and he dropped down to 6th on this second day. Number 64, Ian Mundell, had finished 3rd on day 1, but had a slow final test on day 2, and that dropped him down to 5th place. Most of the riders in the 250 class were going clean, so it was all down to test times. Number 70, Trevor Jones, riding for the Genus Honda team, had lost 2 minutes on day 1, but put in some very fast test times on day 2 to finish 4th overall. Richard Penhaligon from Truro was having his first ride at the Breckland in the expert class, and did some very fast times on Sunday to finish 3rd in the 250s. Richard, one of the top riders from down in Cornwall, we're hoping to see more of him this year. The top 250cc places on day 1 were between Steve Saunders on the Gas and Cy Higgins on the Yamaha. And it was going to be the same on day 2. After the first test, Cy was 2 seconds up on Saunders. But after test 2, it was a much bigger lead, 14 seconds in Higgins' favour. On the final test, Saunders couldn't make any mistakes and would have to do the fastest time of the weekend if he was going to beat Higgins. His 3 times for the day were all within 3 seconds, so he'd certainly done enough to hold on to second place. So, a good weekend for Steve Saunders. On this final test, Cy Higgins had got a 14-second lead. Remember, he had won the first day by 8 seconds. That was on 2 special tests. He also won this last test of the day and beat Steve Saunders by nearly 15 seconds. So Cy Higgins scores maximum points at the Breckland. In the championship class, it wasn't a good weekend for number 20, Juan Knight. On the first day, he had done good test times, but lost 2 minutes on the go-in, and that dropped him down the placing quite a bit. It got worse on Sunday, though, because he crashed out in the Brandon Park, and that was the end of the event for him. In the 400cc 4-stroke class, Jason Fraser from Truro won both days. Jason was riding the new Yamaha 400. In the open 4-stroke class, the overall winner was John Deacon, although on day 1 he had been beaten by Phil Smithson. Both riders had lost quite a bit of time. John riding a Honda 600 and in the Honda Britain team. In the 125s, the TM Works rider Roman Mikulek had done some very impressive test times on day 1 and had finished runner-up in the class even though he'd lost 2 minutes on the go-in. On day 2, he was leading the class after the second special test, but then a problem set in with the bike and he was unable to finish. Local competitor Mark Chapman on a Bavin Yamaha had finished 4th on day 1. Chappers had lost a minute on the go-in. On day 2, he did some good test times and finished 4th again in the class. Chappers was making full use of the corners. Number 9, Rowan Jones, having his first ride in the championship class, had made a mistake on the first day and clocked in a minute early. That had dropped him right down the field. He went better on day 2, though, to finish 3rd overall in the 125s. The reigning 125cc champion Mark Vaughan was riding for Honda Britain this year. On day 1, he finished 5th in the class because he'd lost 2 minutes on the go-in. On Sunday, he put in 3 very consistent test times, which was good enough to give him the runner-up position. The top 125cc rider for the weekend, Tim Lewis from St Ives, being sponsored by Husky Sport.
Good day yesterday, Tim?
Excellent day, yes.
Yeah, you'll be very pleased with that. You looked very quick every time I saw you, you know.
Good, yeah.
It's good on the going. Well done, well done.
Tim was the only rider in his class to go clean on day 1. On the second day, with 3 special tests, he won 2 of those. Test 2 was his fastest time, but on that occasion he was beaten by Mikulek. It was a great start to the season for Tim, scoring maximum points, and he was going to beat a lot of the 250s. In the 250s, Richard Hay was one of only 3 riders to go clean on day 1. With the time check slacker today, it was down to test times, and Richard is going to have quite a battle with his teammate Wyn Hughes, both riding Suzukis. Richard was averaging about 417 seconds on the test. Wyn was just that little bit quicker, and at the end of the day he beat Richard by 10 seconds. Wyn finished in 5th place and Richard was 6th. In 4th place in the 250s on day 2, David Knight from the Isle of Man. On day 1, David finished down in 8th place because he lost 2 minutes on the go-in. Although this was his first championship round, he was very quick on the test and he was going to be a serious contender in the series. David won the expert class at the Natterjack last year. This season he plans to do all of the rounds. On this second day, David was beaten by Honda rider Rob Meek. It was a very small margin, under a second. Rob likes this sort of going at the Breckland, but he was caught out yesterday on the tight check and dropped 3 minutes. "15 points in the class on day 2 was some consolation. The battle in the 250s was between the TM rider Rob Sartin and the Yamaha rider Ady Smith. Ady was a little surprised to win the first day. He hadn't beaten Rob on the tests, but of course Ady had gone clean on the go-in, and we know that Rob had dropped a minute. Today, the final result would be sorted out on the special tests. After day 1, Ady had a 50-second lead over Rob, so it looked as though he would take the Premier Award. After the first test, Smith had lost 5 seconds to Sartin. On test 2, Ady was closer to Rob, only half a second behind. Not quite so good on the third test. Ady was another 7 seconds down. Even Rob Sartin knew that he couldn't pull back 50 seconds on Ady Smith to take the Premier Award, but he was going to make sure of maximum points on this second day. Rob won all 3 special tests. In fact, over the weekend, he'd won all 6. So at the end of the Breckland, Rob won the second day and finished runner-up overall, scoring 36 points. But the Premier Award went to Ady Smith, and his score was 42. At the presentations, late in the afternoon, Tim Lewis, the top 125cc rider, and he'd finished 3rd overall. Rob Sartin comes up to receive his award, runner-up for the weekend. Last year, when it was a one-day event, he had won it. And the winner of the Breckland, Ady Smith, he'd been trying to win this event for at least 10 years.
They expected to be that tight to be quite truthful, but got me head down, went for it, just worked out now.
And what about today?
Well, I never really ride well at the Breckland. I don't particularly like the special test. Like, to be anywhere near Rob, you've got to be going somewhere. I was sort of just behind him, and that was good enough for me. I wanted to go for all this.
Congratulations to Ady Smith. After the first round, he leads the championship by 6 points.